Salve Omnes, and welcome to the ninth section of the prose literature, this the first of the Cicero sections. Marcus Tullius Cicero is one of the most famous orators and writers in history. He becomes consul in 63 BC and defeats the Catilinarian conspiracy, earning himself the title Father of the Country. He was a writer who did an astonishing, apparently 3/4 of all Latin literature during his lifetime that we still have. A large number of this are letters that he sent to his friends and family, and so they give us a fascinating insight into what Republican Rome was like at the time. He was a gentle opposition to the populism of Caesar, and he opposed Mark Antony, but was eventually murdered on Mark Antony's orders, along with his brother and nephew, Quintus Tullius Cicero. This is the same Quintus who was under siege in sections 1 to 4, so we have him coming back as a character, although chronologically this is earlier than the sequences of 1 to 4. Importantly, Marcus Cicero, who I will mostly just call Cicero, his best friend was a guy named Titus Pomponius Atticus. In 68 BC, Pomponius Atticus and Marcus Cicero arranged the marriage of their younger siblings, i.e. Quintus Cicero and Pomponia. Whilst arranged marriages like this were not uncommon, particularly for the upper crust of Roman society, this particular marriage seems to have almost immediately started going downhill. In 68 BC, so the same year of their marriage, Cicero sends this letter, which composes our section 9. He is replying to something that Atticus sent him, complaining that his sister is unhappy. Quod, that which, or as to what scribis you write ad me to me, de tua, about your sorore, about your sister, think of sororities in America. Ipsa, she herself, erit, will be a testis, a witness. Tibi, for you, quanti, for how great a curae, a concern, fuerat, it has been mihi for me. Ut, that the animus, the heart, the mind, the soul of my fratris Quinti, of my brother Quintus, in eam, towards her, in with the accusative, meaning into, here translated as towards, esset, was isqui, that which esse deberet, it ought to be, esse being to be there. Presumably what Cicero means here is that he is taking real steps to try and make sure that their marriage is going okay. As you can imagine, Roman marriage and divorce is quite a complicated topic. A huge number of peoples in different times, spaces, even different religions. But as always, the elites in society tend to have a lot more personal authority and strict rules in how they interact, and a lot of marriages would be done for political alliances or financial rather than because of actual any sort of love. Ha! So Pomponia does actually have a fair amount of personal authority, and she does end up divorcing Quintus later on, just before the end of his life. By the end of the Roman Republic, they would be marrying with sine manu marriages. This is better. It's really not very equal. The woman still remains part of her own family, but that means that she stays underneath her father's authority, which is better than being in the, and I kid you not, legally the same place as her own children. She counts as her husband's child. So weird, so creepy. Moving on. Importantly, in this sine manu marriage, the more slightly modern one for the Romans, the woman keeps her own property, and so she has a lot more personal authority in how she interacts, except for the dowry, assets that would be given by the bridal family to the husband, basically as a bride price. the husband, that's his property unless they divorce. And by the 2nd century BC, women could choose to divorce their husbands. If the husband was to blame for the divorce, he lost that dowry as well. So, went back to his wife, giving them a real strong financial incentive to try and make the marriage work. And actually, Quintus, we know, did struggle to repay his dowry to Pomponia. Of course, if the woman was to blame for the dissolution of the marriage, and we could talk about what to blame might possibly mean, the husband would keep said dowry. So, to continue Cicero's letter, cum arbitrare, since I was judging that, effectively introducing an indirect statement here, quem, it, that is to say, Quintus's heart from chunk 1, his animus. Since I was judging that it, esse, was offensiorem, rather annoyed, rather offended, misi, I sent eas litaras, the letter, that letter, such a letter, ad eum, to him, quibus, with which, and then we have a lot of ets here, so I translated this as both. I might both placarem, calm him, ut fratrem, as a brother, and warn or advise him, ut as a junior, et and ubiurgarem, Jesus, rebuke him, ut errantem, as someone making a mistake. What does Cicero mean here? He's sending him a letter telling him, chill out, dude. You're not doing this quite right, and be careful, you're making a mistake here. I imagine that Quintus was probably deeply annoyed by his brother's condescending tone, but there we go. Continuing. Itaque, therefore, ex eis, from those things, quae postea, which afterwards, saepe, often, scripta sunt, were written, ad me, to me, ab eo, from him, confido, I trust, ita, thus. And then we have another indirect statement here, that omnia, everything, esse, is, ut, as, et apportiat, it both ought, et vellimus, and as we might want. These are what we call generalizing subjunctives. They're not on the GCSE language spec. Surprise, surprise. Apparently, by the way, this letter actually works amazingly. Cicero sends another couple of letters to Atticus over the next year and a bit, saying, oh, they seem to be getting along a bit better, and then they actually have a son, and then the marriage continues for another 15 or so years. So maybe Cicero's advice might have actually worked. Maybe he was actually telling his brother useful things as to how to act as a husband. I suppose fairly early on in their relationship, that might have actually been helpful. Who knew? And there you have it, the end of section 9, a rather short section, this one. We're going to get the reply to this letter in the next part. Here, obviously, it's very short, so it's quite difficult to analyse in some respects, but we can notice how even a letter to his best friend, Cicero still includes fancy bits of language, really trying to persuade Atticus that he's doing the best that he possibly can to make sure this relationship between their siblings works out. Hope that helps. Thank you very much.